The title of this video is not a threat. Okay, so you're fine, you're good, don't worry about anything. So I came across this book online, 101 Horror Books to Read Before You're Murdered by Sadie Mother Horror Hartmann, and I really wanted to go through this and try to build a TBR out of it, but also like tell you the 101 horror books you should read before you're murdered, and just chat horror today, you know, like see if there's any books that, you know, I've never heard of, things that I'm so super excited to read now, things that probably aren't to my taste and I probably will never pick up. I think this is going to be an absolute blast to go through and just chat horror about, because I'm still feeling like a horror newbie, to be honest. So settle down, grab yourself a hot drink. I have myself a homemade pumpkin spice latte, and let's chat horror books. And if you possibly could, please do like this video if you enjoyed it and subscribe if you haven't already. I also want to give a disclaimer as well. Just because I'm going to be going through the 101 horror books in this book, please do still buy and support this book. I haven't really had a proper look through it, but I had a little flick through just to see if like, oh yeah, this would like make sense for a video. But this book is like so much more than just 101 horror books to read before you're murdered. Like there's actually way more recommendations than that. You have like mini essays like Make Horror Gay AF by Hailey Piper. You have this book broken down into sections like Cosmic Horror, the Occult and Witchcraft. You also have like author spotlights as well with like their recommended titles. So like we have Grady Hendrix there, who, you know, I haven't had the best history with. And look, Tananarive Dew, who is like one of my new favourite authors. But not only does it show you like what you should read of hers, but also it shows you exactly what kind of books she recommends, like what Tananarive Dew recommends. My 3 horror books I would include are such and such. So you do get more than just the 101 horror books. So please don't think I'm just gonna like read this out and that be the end of it. Please do, if you're a horror fan. Like, this is not sponsored as well, by the way. Like if you are a horror fan or anything, go for it. Don't let me put you off from buying this because I'm going through the horror books. And I also love like the reference guides. Icons is like Book to Movie, City Life, Locked Room, Inspired by True Events, Human Monsters, Strong Women, Survival, Southern Gothic. Like this book is like a horror lover's wet dream. No, just from like taking a first glance at it. The sections like paranormal. I would 100% still recommend buying this, even though I'm going to try and build a TBR out of it today. So let's start with like the paranormal section, and even then there are sections within sections. So in the paranormal sections, we're starting with haunted houses. So first we have The Grip of It by Jack Jemk. Came out in 2017. Haven't heard of it. It also shows like the themes, the tone, the style, the setting, the publisher. Oh, we need more books like this. Honestly, we need more books like this. I feel like with all of these like haunted house stories, like just having a quick little look of the summary, it seems like, you know, like you have a new couple moving into a new house, and the new house seems to be haunted or something's happening there. So I feel like that's kind of what The Grip of It seems to be like. But it does say that no 2 readers will have the same experience when reading this. There will be paranormal skeptics who run with close suggesting one thing, while other readers will lean into the unexplained phenomena to propose a different reality. I love the idea of reading a book that's kind of that interactive, where, you know, you could have 2 people read it and they'll walk away with totally different ideas. This would be sort of interesting. Like, so say if I could get like Kayla from Books and Alla to like buddy read this and see if we both come to the same conclusions. Is it haunted, or is it like people, you know, that kind of will 2 readers experience the same kind of story? I feel like that would be so interesting. Sorry Kayla, I used you as an example. You don't have to do anything with me. So I would add The Grip of It to my TBR. The Book of Accidents, I don't know if I would add that to my TBR. I've heard mixed things about it on BookTube, where a family of 3 move into like their childhood home where one of the siblings had experienced trauma at that house. And the same with the next one, Just Like Home by Sarah Gailey. I also believe that has been like a book club book for quite a few book clubs on BookTube, so I probably wouldn't add that to my TBR either. Kill Creek, I own Kill Creek. Here it is by Scott Thomas, so I would definitely have this in my TBR because I own it, why not? Also, if you're watching this, let me know in the comments if there's anything I mentioned in this video that you would totally recommend and you think I should read. I feel like it would also be really fun to include your recommendations from this book to build a TBR out of. Then we also have The Ancestor by Danielle Trussoni. I don't think I've heard of this one. This one follows someone called Alberta who lives in New York, and she finds out she's the sole heir of somebody with a noble title and castle in Turin, Italy. It is said that it is impossible to imagine at the start of this book where it will ultimately end up. That intrigues me. Okay, I think I would add that to my TBR as well. I mean, to be honest, like so far it feels like Mother Horror could sell me anything. It really does. The Switch House by Tim Meyer. Oh, this one's self-published. Apparently it's a novella, and there isn't really like a summary on like what it's actually about. It just says it's fast and fierce. Best example of shorter works of fiction. Fuck it, why not? Let's add it to the list. Oh my god, there's even like little games as well at the end of the parts. Match these fictional writers to the Stephen King story. Oh gosh. So like Mike Noonan, Paul Sheldon, Scott Landon, Jack Torrance, Mort Rainey, Gordy Lachance, Ben Mears, George Stark, Mike Enslin. I'm currently reading through Stephen King's books for the very first time in publication order. And, like, I know Jack Torrance's The Shining. I know Paul Sheldon is Misery. I know Ben Mears is Salem Slot, because I read that one recently for the first time. But the other ones I'm not really 100% sure of. So if you know the answers, let me know down below. Match each haunted house to its author. 29 Newbold Street, Hill House, Bly Manor, Manderley, The House on Ash Tree Lane, Alexander House, 56 Abigail Lane. Okay, so I know Manderley is Rebecca, right? So Daphne du Maurier. Hill House is Shirley Jackson, which I'll be reading for the very first time next month. Bly Manor, Henry James, I think. Yeah, I'm not really sure of the other ones, but you know what? It also includes like really fun, interactive stuff like that. So the next section is ghosts, which I love a good ghost story. I love going to haunted places and exploring them. I've just put my haunted nunnery vlog out. So we have Joe Hill's Heart-Shaped Box. I've never read a Joe Hill book before, and I would love to. So I would definitely add that to the TBR. I feel like a lot of people already know that one. Oh, White House by Erica T. Worth. I don't think I've heard of that one. It's like horror meets crime. Modern ghost story centered on the female experience. That would be so interesting to read. Oh, in a 21st century indigenous female experience. Okay, I'm definitely adding that to the TBR. So the main character needs to learn more about her mother's strange disappearance and possible murder, which takes her back to her Native American heritage and estranged family members. Okay. There is Native American law chase and carry in the form of the lawfare. I haven't heard of that law before. Oh my god, okay. Definitely adding to the TBR. When the Reckoning Comes by Latanya McQueen. It already mentioned Toni Morrison's Beloved, and I read that in May, and I really enjoyed Beloved. I think I would add this to the TBR as well. So we follow a character called Mira, and she is attending her friend's wedding in the town she used to grow up in. The venue is a tobacco plantation. Why am I getting Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds vibes from this? But yes, I'll add it to the TBR. That sounds great. Oh, The Hacienda by Isabel Cañas. Yes, I will, because I've heard great things about it from some people online. So it's like historical gothic horror romance. Like, yes, all of those buzzwords, 100%. Yes, I'm in. And there's Tanana Review. I literally just read The Reformatory. You will get my review on that in the vlog that's coming this Saturday, and I'm so excited to share my thoughts on it. Next is Creatures and Cryptids. First we have Ghoul by Brian Keane. This came out in 2007. I haven't seen this one. The cover's looking a little bit terrifying. So just for the cover alone, I'll add it to the TBR. This is terrible. Like, I'm going to add so much to my TBR after going through this book. Oh my god. Like, this sounds so bizarre. So, it's coming of age. Children are always to be believed, even if they tell you that there is a glowing, naked ghoul hell-bent on impregnating women in its subterranean lair under the town cemetery. What? Sounds like a little bit of a creature feature. Sounds like it's very emotional. Leave you with a hollow feeling in your guts. Okay, I'll add it to the TBR. Oh, In the Valley of the Sun by Andie Davidson. There's so many of these I haven't even read yet. Oh my gosh. So we have a guy called Travis who is like traveling. He has a Texas Ranger hunting him down as he's running, and it's kind of following his journey. He goes to a barely operating motel run by Annabelle and her young son Sandy. Something follows Travis there. When you say motel, obviously I think of Psycho. I just read Psycho for the very first time by Robert Bloch. I literally finished it yesterday. So I'm kind of in the motel headspace. I'll add it to the TBR. The Children on the Hill by Jennifer McMahon. I read that a couple of years ago with Gabby for the book troop, and it was a good book. I liked it. I didn't love it, but I liked it. So yay, we finally have one book that I've actually read so far. Heart Strange and Dreadful by Tim McGregor. I do like that cover. I think the cover's looking pretty good. Oh, and apparently this horror book gives Little House on the Prairie vibes. Why am I intrigued? Like, I'm so intrigued by that. Has all the atmosphere and nostalgia of my favourite childhood book series, but with hair-raising horror? Like, how does that work? So Hess is an orphan living with her aunt and uncle, tending to the Stokeleys' modest home in farmland in 1821 New England. So it's a little bit historical. Oh, fuck it, why not add it to the list? The Return by Rachel Harrison. Oh, do we want more female-centric horror? Yes. Why am I adding all of these books to my TBR? Obviously, I'm going to add this to my TBR. Yes, I would love more female-centric horror. Rachel Harrison. I don't think I've read a book by Rachel Harrison before, but the name does ring a bell. So Julie goes off on a solo hiking trip and never returns, but then Julie's husband comes home to find Julie sitting on the porch with no memory of how she got there or where she's been. Interesting. Okay, that does sound interesting. Okay, so the next section is Supernatural, not the TV show with Sam and Dean Winchester. I don't think I've read enough supernatural horror to like really give to. Oh my god, the first book that's recommended, Boys in the Valley by Philip Fracassi. I read this for Summerween and I loved it. I thought it was great. So that is a great recommendation for me personally. I love the atmosphere of that. It felt very isolating and very creepy, and all of the stuff with the boys. It just, oh my god, it did get under my skin a little bit. So this is the Demons and Possession section. So yeah, Boys in the Valley we starting off with. I've read it, yay. The Demonologist by Andrew Piper. I've seen this around, but I've never read it before. Yes, added to the TBR. So we follow a professor called David, and he's approached by a mysterious woman who asks him to sort out this kind of situation in Italy, or like this kind of quest in a way. That's giving me a little bit of like the Book of the Most Precious Substance vibes, when the main character has to like find this book. It kind of gives me like those kind of vibes. So yes, I will add that to the TBR, because it has actually been on my TBR for a while. The Wicked by James Newman. This came out in 2007. Again, I like the cover. This one is full of unadulterated bloody gore and graphic scenes of sex and violence. Highly recommend to read it around Halloween. Okay, it seems like there is a demon that gets conjured into existence during a horrible tragedy in the town's past. Like, it does sound very interesting, very exciting. I can't add everything to the TBR, so I'm gonna say pass on that for now, unless someone in the comments can like convince me otherwise. Just like the graphic scenes of sex and violence. I just read Cows by Matthew Stokoe, and I really don't want to read anything too graphic ever again. Not kidding. I will eventually. Come Closer by Sarah Grant. I love Come Closer by Sarah Grant. Oh my god, I read that years ago and I loved it. Oh my god, there's another one that I can say. Yes, Come Closer is so good. If you haven't read it yet, please do. It's quite short. It is, again, a possession story, and it just had me on the edge of my seat the entire time. Loved it. The Occult Witchcraft is next, and we start with The Year of the Witching by Alexis Henderson. I have had this on my TBR before. I don't own it, but I have seen it and I do kind of want to read it. And especially if anything's to do with witches. I love witches so much. They're my favourite. Also, would it be really fun if you let me know down in the comments as well how many you've read from the 101 horror books to read before you're murdered? Let me know. Like, it would probably be really interesting to see how many you've read and how many you would love to read. So I do think this is like set around the Salem Witch Trials, or at least the Salem Witch Trials are kind of like brought up again. Sign me up. Sign me up. Hex by Thomas Old-Hjevelt. 2013. I own this. No, I don't. I own Echo. Sorry. Hex has been recommended to me quite a lot, so I think I will add this to my TBR. So we are set in a small isolated community of Black Springs, and there is like this Black Rock witch who is like cursed the town, and the witch comes and goes with its stitched closed mouth and eyes. Like, that is definitely very creepy. Yes. The Nightmare Girl by Jonathan Jans. Never heard of this one. I'm gonna pass on that one. It doesn't really give too much about what it is about, other than like the antagonists are like practicing evil witchcraft, and we follow a good guy called Joe. I just read All the Fiends of Hell, and we followed a good guy in that. It was just like very boring. I kind of find horror books with a good guy main character to be quite boring books, so I'm going to give that a pass for now. Cosmic Horror next. So The Ballad of Black Tom I have read by Victor Laval. I only read it this year as well, so I do have a reading vlog reading horror novellas for the very first time, so I read it in that vlog. The Worm and His Kings by Haley Piper. Haven't heard of this one. But it says LGBTQIA+ experience. Oh, yes. Oh, we follow Monique, and her girlfriend Donna has gone missing, and it's in a very Alice in Wonderland style. Oh, that, sign me up. The Fisherman by John Langan. Every single time I think of Fisherman, I think of I Know What You Did Last Summer. We follow two guys who have lost their wives, and they bond over fishing, and I think they encounter Der Fisher, who leads them into a great exchange. So it sounds like kind of Faustian Pactish, maybe? Yeah, I'll add it. I'll add it. A Lush and Seething Hell by John Horner Jacobs. Oh, it's made up of 2 novellas, this book. It has themes of cults, research, death, musician, poets, secrets, oral tradition, librarians, translators, infidelity, obsession, cursed artwork. Sure, add it to the list. Walk the Darkness Down by John Borden. 2019. Oh, it does have themes of child abuse, so maybe skip that one if that is a trigger for you. Also, Cosmic Horror like really isn't my 100% favorite, so it'll be interesting if I do read these books and enjoy them, because I haven't really had a Cosmic Horror win before. We have 3 different characters, and then also we follow the antagonist, and it's like a western landscape of small isolated towns leaving a wake of destruction and death, and all these wanderers are destined to cross paths at some point. Okay, it sounds interesting, but I'll probably give that one a pass. Okay, next we have the section Human Monsters and the subsection Coming of Age. So first we have Knock Knock by S.P. Miskowski. I don't think I've heard of this one. Came out in 2011. We follow 3 girls who hate the idea of pregnancy and motherhood, so they go into the woods to perform a ritual to ward off pregnancy. Okay, that sounds interesting, but I probably will give that one a pass for now. The Bottoms by Joe R. Lansdale. Came out in 2000. It takes place in East Texas right after the Great Depression in the 1930s. And it zeroes in on a family living by a river. I will also probably give that one a pass for now. December Park by Ronald Malfi. I haven't read it, but it is about disappearing kids. And it's like a mystery, and there are children who live at Harting Farms that knows the underbelly of this town. and potentially what's going on. And I think it's set in the 1990s, which, okay, I'm going to add that to the list because I love books set in the 90s. Oh, Pen Pal by Dathan Orbach. I haven't read this one, but I have seen it around. I've seen people review it and read it. I'll probably give it a pass for now, even though it has like kind of captured my interest every now and then. A Foster Homes and Flies by Chad Lutz. So we follow a young boy called Denny, who fends for himself for the most part because his mum is always constantly at the TV, watching the TV, until one day he discovers her dead. Denny doesn't really know what to do, and he's like really excited for his spelling bee, apparently, and he just want to like change that because he's so excited for his spelling bee. So like the horror is kind of like him living at home with the corpse of his mother. I'll put that on the list because I'm quite intrigued by that. The Ghost Tree by Christina Henry. I'm going to give that a pass. I have read Christina Henry before. I did quite like Under the Bone. What was it called again? Yeah, the Bone. I do kind of like that one, but I've read like other ones by Christina Henry, and I just want to give other authors a chance, you know. The Deer Kings by Wendy Wagner. This one is about a ragtag friend group and the outcasts, and they perform a ritual and they summon a god in the woods to protect themselves from a common enemy. The author says it feels heavily inspired by Stephen King's It, but the kids, the Losers Club, if you will, reflect the more updated teen issues of the 1990s. So I guess if you're a fan of maybe It, or like the friendship group in Stranger Things, I imagine. So I already will pass on the Deer Kings. The Born Weaver's Orchid by Sarah Reed. So we have a young man called Charlie, and he is left at the doors of the Old Cross School for Boys, and they don't know what to do with him, so they just like invite him in. And there might be some kind of like evil that lives at the school. Sounds like other things I've kind of read, so I might give that one a pass for now, unless someone can convince me otherwise. The Listener by Robert McCammon. This one is historical, so it might not really fully be for me, because it's set in 1934 and it's told in parts. We have adults John Pott and Ginger LaFrance, who swindle folks to make their way during the Great Depression. So the Great Depression is a theme that comes up quite a few times, so I might give that one a pass as well. Next we have Grief, Loss and Death as a subsection. So we have Red by Jack Ketchum. I have read Off Season and the sequel to Off Season by Jack Ketchum, and I've read The Girl Next Door. They were incredibly horrifying. They're kind of like extreme horror. Yeah, like I did like Off Season because like the whole cannibal storyline was like very like exciting and scary for me. I'm terrified of cannibals. So I kind of know what this author is like. But will I add it to the TBR? Well, apparently there are brief scenes of senseless animal cruelty right in the beginning, but it acts as a catalyst of violence for the rest of the book. It doesn't really say exactly what this book is about, so I'm going to give that a pass, but I have read Jack Ketchum before. Oh, the next one is I'm Thinking of Anythings by Ian Reid. I have read that one. I didn't love it. I still haven't seen the film. I'm wondering, should I? Then we have Red X by David Demchuk. Oh my god, it has an important contribution to LGBTQIA plus representation in horror? Okay, I'm going to add it. This one is about men going missing. They just vanish, and I think it's set in the 80s as well, so yeah, okay. I mean, I was signed up when it mentioned LGBTQIA+, so I'm there. Rites of Extinction by Matt Serafini. I'm loving the fact that I haven't heard of, like, the majority of the books that are being brought up. This is awesome. Oh, this follows Rebecca Daniels, who is a private investigator who's abandoned a normal life to track down the killer of her daughter. Sounds like this could be a really interesting, like, sort of revenge, vigilante justice, which I just mentioned as a theme. Yeah, I'll add it. Full Immersion by Gemma Amor. We follow Magpie, who is suffering amnesia when she discovers her own corpse by a river. She doesn't have any memory. This is horror as therapy in its most raw, vulnerable form. That is very intriguing. I'm not gonna lie, that's very intriguing. I'll add it to the list. The Last Days of Jack Sparks by Jason Arnott. Again, another one I haven't even heard of. Sadie says this is the book I refer to whenever people claim that protagonists have to be likable for the book to be enjoyable. This is something that I also think can be quite frustrating if people like don't like a book because the main character isn't likable. Sometimes that's the point. So I do kind of love this. And the main character, Jack Sparks, is a narcissistic, egotistical asshole. The format in the book is apparently extremely experimental, relies on readers engaging with it differently than they would a traditionally narrated linear story. I love books that kind of do things a bit differently. Things I have to like kind of work a little bit harder to understand and like read. I kind of love that. It's very engaging. Yes, I'll add it. The next section is cults. I imagine quite a few people might be interested in this. So Beneath by Christy Demister. Never heard of this. Love the cover. I think the cover is so good. So we follow a journalist who gets an assignment to investigate this snake holding cult, and whatever happens after that probably won't be good for our journalist friend now, will it? So yeah, I'll add that. Revelator by Daryl Gregory. This one seems to be another historical set in like the 1930s and 40s. Like it's dual narrative, I think. 2 different timelines. I might give that one a pass for now, just because there's other ones that sound so good. The Twisted Ones by T. Kingfisher. I love T. Kingfisher, so I'm definitely going to add this to the list. This is one I haven't read. I don't think I own it. No, I have the Hollow Places, but the Twisted Ones sound so good. I've heard great reviews for it. Devil's Creek by Todd Kiesling. Never heard of this one either. It is set in a small fictional town haunted by the legend of a death cult, the Lord's Church of Holy Voices, in which the townspeople worshipped a nameless deity in a church at Devil's Creek. Fire kills everyone except the Storford Six, and then 30 years later, the 6 have grown up and moved on, and one of them returns to that hometown. Okay, I'll read that one. Ooh, Mexican Gothic by Silvia Marino Garcia. I've read that one. I really enjoyed it, so we can tick that off. The Library of Mount Shaw by Scott Hawkins. I've heard of this one. I don't know if I really do want to read it, honestly. It seems okay. We have someone who kidnaps people and takes them back to his library to train them as gods or something like that. I'm not really that interested. Little Eve by Catriona Ward. I have read The Last House on Ada Street by this author, and I also have Sundial, which I haven't read yet. But Little Eve, this one came out in 2018. I don't think I've heard of this one. It is a story told in reverse. Begin with a ritualistic murder of a strange, isolated family, and I think it kind of goes back from there, I think. Apparently peak Gothic vibes, I'm in. Oh my god, I forgot to click record. I've literally been sitting here for the last like 10 minutes. I've got to click record. I can't remember where I was up to. Shit. I can't believe I did that. I literally went through like 2 other sections before I realised I hadn't clicked record. Anyway, slashers and serial killers. Let's do this again. So I would really love to read more slasher books because I love slasher movies, but I haven't really come across very many slasher books that I personally enjoy. But the first one here, Grind Your Bones to Dust by Nicholas Day, sounds really good because I love that title so much. We have this villain called James Haight, and there are murderous deeds committed against innocent people that will make you very uncomfortable. Sounds a little bit extreme. And there is a supernatural raven who speaks in these prophetic parables and mysteries. That sounds weird to me, so I'll probably say yes. Then we have Kin by Kaelin Patrick Burke. I own this one, and I've been wanting to read this for a while. I'm kind of scared by it, though. We follow the survivor of a soul massacre called Claire, and she ends up getting angry that, you know, such senseless tragedy happened to her, that she kind of wants to get revenge and justice for the murders. So I have had this on my TBR, as well as the next one, which is True Crime by Samantha Kolesnik. And this one, again, I've had for a while because I love the cover. I think it's so weird. And yeah, this one is about a pair of siblings who kill their abusive mother, and then they go on a road trip to continue a killing spree. Sounds really scary and messed up, so I have definitely had that one for a while, so I want to get to it at some point. We also have Camp Sawyer by Sergio Gomez, which I have read. I didn't love it. I read it when I went to a cabin getaway a few years ago. Maybe it is a fun time if you just like tune out and just read it. But yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan. And there is a character called Gavin in it who is an asshole. But there is a character called Gavin, so there's that. And then we have Goth by Otsuichi, which it does say there is a fair amount of animal cruelty in some of this book, so I'm going to give this one a pass. It is about an unnamed narrator and his friend who are awkward at school, but after school they, you know, investigate true crime and they go to crime scenes and stuff like that. So it does sound interesting, but I don't know, I'm just not really wanting to read anything with animal cruelty. And then finally in this section, Gone to Save the Riverman by Christopher Triana. I have seen this around and I would love to read it. Sadie says that this is likely the darkest, most extreme book on this list, so proceed with caution. So we follow a main character called Laurie. She ends up falling in love with a prison inmate called Edmund, and Edmund has done unspeakable things to women. So why Laurie is like enamored by him in the first place is anyone's guess, but I think he ends up giving her some like tasks to do to show her loyalty, and we go from there. So that does sound really messed up. The next section is body horror, which I already went through and I didn't click record. The first one, A Place for Sinners by Aaron Dries. This one I'm going to add to my TBR because the cover of it really freaks me out. Like, I hate being able to see inside the body, like the throat stuff. No. It also does have an interesting premise where we follow Amity and her brother Caleb. They live in Australia, but they go on holiday to Thailand and they take this boat tour that takes them to this remote island in Thailand. Violence and misery ensue. So that's interesting. Next we have Transmuted by Eve Holmes. This is another one I haven't read, but I love what Sadie says in the opening paragraph of this. I'm adding it to the TBR for this alone. Sadie says, I mentioned in another book recommendation how women are overqualified to write horror. Our very existence is threatened every damn day. I worry about us. I worry about trans women and how some people's whole purpose in life is to erase them. It terrifies me right now to even type a statement like that, but it's true. Why can't trans women just live their lives in peace and happiness? Honestly, yes. Yes, I back you 100%. I agree 100%. I'm adding this book to the TBR for that alone. Even though this is the author's statement, not like what the book is about or anything, I'm just adding it to the list. But the main character of Transmuted is a trans woman who is going through facial feminization surgery, and she has a complicated relationship with her family, so that could be very interesting. Next we have Last Days by Brian Evanson. This one follows a mutilation cult, but because this is in the body horror section rather than the cult section, I imagine the body horror is going to be the main focus of it, which kind of terrifies me. And I don't think I will add, I mean, I don't know. It is following an investigator called Klein who catches this mutilation cult's attention, and he gets kidnapped and taken to this cult. I don't know if I'll do that. I don't know if I'll do that myself, so I'll pass. Next we have The Wingspan of Severed Hands by Joe Kosh. I would say it the other way that I think it might be pronounced, but I don't want to say it in case I'm wrong. But this one I love the title of. I think horror sometimes has the best titles of all literature. I love it. But I think I want to pass on this one because there's like two narratives. One in a lab where they are trying to combat this horrible madness sweeping over the country. And then we also have Andrea, who is in a toxic relationship with her mother. So I want to pass on that one. Next we have Creepy Kids, and this is a section that scares me, and also this is when I realised that I hadn't been recording, so I don't know these stories. Also very interesting that I used to work in a bookstore, and I haven't heard of half of these. Like, I need to have done better. Like, I don't work in a bookstore anymore, but I need to do better. So next we have The Laws of the Skies by Gregoire Courtois. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, I probably said that so wrong. Ooh, it says that this book is so taboo. I'm a little tempted. Okay, say more, say more. Oh, there's camping in it. Oh, and kids terrify me anyway. I really should be reading this because I'm going camping in a couple of weeks to read some Blair Witch Project books. And I feel like maybe I should take this. If there's creepy kids camping, oh my god. So we have 3 adults who accompany a group of first graders into the woods for a camp out. None of them survive the trip. That's not a spoiler, it's a warning. The author is upfront about what you're headed for right on the first page, like a demented, twisted version of Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None. I'll add it to the TBR, but why do I feel like I kind of want to get this and take it camping with me? Ah! I don't think I've got time. I mean, maybe I don't know. Next we have Baby Teeth by Zoje Stage, another one I haven't heard of. Apparently this is just about a family of 3 in crisis and a toxic mother-daughter relationship at home. I'll probably pass on this one. I'm sure it's great, but I'll probably pass. Ooh, next we have Stuff for the Children by Craig DeLuey. I read this earlier this year, and I liked it. I thought it was good. But that is one I have read. Oh, look, we have a biography of Stephen Graham Jones. Recommended titles, and Stephen Graham Jones recommends. Ooh! Okay, Crime and Investigation next is the section. So, Number 1 Fan by Meg Ellison. Yeah, for a second there I thought it was something to do with Misery. But Sadie says it's not trying to be Stephen King's Misery. This is a twist on classic obsessive stalker tropes like You. More horror, less thriller. It's a cautionary tale to women to never let our guard down for even a single solitary moment, and to consider how much of ourselves we reveal on the internet for any stranger to know. This is something that like taps into my fear as well about like what I share on the internet. I'll add that to the TBR. Good Neighbours by Sarah Langan. I haven't read it, haven't heard of it. It's apparently set on Maple Street, and the matriarchs of the street, the matriarchal family, are threatened when a new family moves in. It sounds like a little bit like a suburbia kind of setting. After reading Middle of the Night and hating Middle of the Night, I don't really kind of fancy any books set in suburbia, so I'll probably give that a pass. Next is Coyote Songs by Gabino Iglesias. This is several stories, each chapter a vignette, or a vignette. I don't actually know how to pronounce that. A singular time. Sorry, I probably seem so dumb. I'm so sorry. I'm just a regular guy. What can I say? The stories tell the different experiences of Mexican culture, specifically as they relate to tragedies like immigration, human trafficking, and racism. Okay, that could be very eye-opening. Very educational, so I will 100% add that to my TBR. Children of Chicago by Cynthia Paleo. This is crime noir thriller. I kind of really want to read more like crime noir, or like more noir books in general. So we follow a detective who has the worst luck in life. Her mother is missing and her sister is murdered, and it's an unsolved case. And now Lauren wants to keep the children in her community safe. But children are being hunted by a killer known as the Pied Piper. Ooh, I'll add that to the TBR because that sounds intense. Next is Broken Monsters by Lauren Burks. A horror with police, procedural, and crime investigation elements. So there is a serial killer in the Detroit area curating his crime scenes by fusing his victims' bodies with dead animals. I think if I'm in a better headspace I probably will, but I'll pass on that for now. Another essay about queer horror. This one is written by Eric LaRocca. Natural order horror? What is that? We live in a world that is trying to kill us. We are the weakest link. Take away our technology and weapons, and what do we have? Nothing. God damn. Cut right to the chase, why don't you? So this is like nature, when like nature is what's trying to kill us. Okay. So Apocalyptic, Dystopian, and Sci-Fi. Zone 1 by Colson Whitehead. I've heard of this, and this is about a zombie apocalypse. I would love more of those. The ones I've read are very run-of-the-mill, very been there, done that, so it would be nice to read something a bit different when it comes to zombie apocalypses. We follow one weekend in the life of a guy named Mark Spitz, and he's part of the Sweepers, and they are armed forces that are tasked to clean up the bodies in the cities. I'll put it on my TBR. I'll put it on my TBR. Tender is the Flesh by Agustina Bazterrica. I have read this. I read it earlier this year, and I really enjoyed it, so I can tick that one. Ring Shout by P. Jelly Clark. I would love to read this one. I don't think I own it. No, I don't, but I would love to because I've seen it around. It is set in 1920s Georgia, and it has like the human monsters of the KKK in this, and I've heard enough fantastic reviews for this that I really do want to give it a read. Next is The Fjering, the definitive edition by John F.D. Taff. Oh, so The Fjering is 4 books collected in a single volume. Each one has different points of views for each chapters, different journeys of survival, traveling groups navigating nightmarish hellscapes and landscapes, group of teens, this, that, and the other. I'll probably give it a pass, because I'm not really the biggest fan of short stories or like little story collections, but maybe one day, maybe one day. The Silence by Tim Levin. Apparently this was adapted into a Netflix film. Or is it a little bit like A Quiet Place? The author is saying throughout the movies A Quiet Place 1 and 2, as well as the Netflix adaptation of this book, just cleanse your brain of all of that. So this is a deep subterranean environment. Why does that remind me of The Descent, which is like one of my favourite horror films? And we have Allie, a 14-year-old who is deaf, helping navigate their safety as quietly as they can. Yeah, I'll add it. I'll add it to the TBR. I think it'll be good. The Loop by Jeremy Robert Johnson. There is a small town in Oregon, and there is like this failed experiment, and it becomes an epicenter of unusual and violent activity. It follows a group of teenagers led by the only 2 brown kids at the Turner Falls High School, and they must survive the next 24 hours and save the world by preventing the outbreak from spreading beyond the town's borders. That sounds pretty good. I will add it. Next is Red Hands by Christopher Golden. Apparently it's book 3 in the Ben Walker series, but it reads like a standalone novel, and you won't miss out on anything. So we have this man who everyone he touches dies, and he drives a car into a group of people, and the main character Maeve, she is watching this happen, and she is devastated that her friends and family are like being killed in front of her, and so she confronts the man who's driving the car. I might give that one a pass. I don't think it's like really fully captivating me just from that alone. Eco Horror is the next subsection. We need to do something by Max Booth III. I love a name like that. Like, why can't I be called Gavin Hetherington III? You know what I mean? This one is a storm that's happening, and a family runs into their bathroom to take shelter during it. Issues begin to bubble and rise to the surface. There's no scene changes. The entire book takes place in the bathroom. No scene changes. I will add it, because that sounds strange, but pretty good. A little bit like Gerald's Game by Stephen King. Pretty much it all takes place in a bed, although there are flashbacks that change the scene up a bit. So maybe this one doesn't even have that. It doesn't have flashbacks, it's just all set in the bathroom. That's so intriguing. Then we have Stranded by Bracken McLeod. So we have Noah and his team are exploring the Arctic landscape, and he leads his crew into disaster. I'll probably give that one a pass. The Deep by Nick Cutter. So I've read The Troop by Nick Cutter, and I really enjoyed it. The Deep does feature a global pandemic, which you know, can hit very close to home. And I think this is set at the bottom of the Mariana Trench. That terrifies me. Anything that far down in the ocean terrifies. The ocean itself terrifies me. It's so scary not knowing what's under the surface. I will add that to the TBR. I like The Troop, so I do like Nick Cutter's writing from that. The Ruins by Scott Smith. I have seen this before. I would like to read it. I've had this on my TBR before, but I didn't get the book in time to read it. Apparently this is about a bunch of assholes on vacation who make bad decisions after bad decisions, and ultimately leads to life and death situation. I love that. I love the description of that. I'll add it to the TBR. And next we have Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. I do own that one. I would love to. I have a few friends who love Jeff Vandermeer so much. We have a group of women who go into Area X, and they don't trust one another apparently. And there is like a level of isolation and caution between this group of people. Sounds really good. I would love to do that. I would love to give it a read. Oh, the next section is short story collections. I don't know if I'm going to really put too many of these on my TBR just because I don't really fancy short story collections, honestly. But the first one is The Beautiful Thing That Awaits Us All by Laird Barron. Then Things We Lost in the Fire by Mariana Enriquez. North American Lake Monsters by Nathan Ballingrud. Oh, I've read The Strange by Nathan Ballingrud quite recently actually as well. Good like sort of sci-fi western horror. That was pretty good. Then we have Fall in Love with Hominids by Nalo Hopkinson. Greener Pastures by Michael Wehunt. And The Gore Sequences by A.C. Wise. Oh wait, it keeps going, it keeps going. We Are Here to Hurt Each Other by Paula D. Ash. Shiver by Junji Ito. I love Shiver by Junji Ito. That is another one I've read. And I imagine that in manga. We've actually got a manga in here. That's awesome. I love that. I would love a book like this, but like a manga version. That would be so cool. Oh, wait, hang on. There's more. The Trees Grew Because I Bled There by Eric LaRocca. Tribal Screams by Owl Going Back. This is like the longest section. Cry Your Way Home by Damien Angelica Walters. She Said Destroy by Nadia Bulkin. And that's it. Like, I don't think I'll add any of those to the TBR because I don't really do short story collections. And I can't really tell you what they're about because, you know, each story is like different. They're filled with different stories. But those are the recommendations. There's even a book checklist at the end too. This is so cool. And that was actually 91 books. And then there are 10 author spotlights to further add to the 101 horror books that you should read. So there is Adam Neville, which I did just read All the Fiends of Hell. And sorry to say, I did not really enjoy this one. But at least I can tick that off. Almakatsu. I have read The Deep by Almakatsu and I didn't like that one either, unfortunately, but at least I can take Almakatsu off. Anya Alburn, I haven't read from before. Oh my god, it's just started like raining very heavily right now. Can you hear that? Amazing, amazing. Anya Alburn wrote Brother, which I have seen before and I have been slightly interested in reading, but I do think that's kind of an extreme one, maybe an extreme horror book. Then there's Christopher Buehlman, which I don't think there's anything by Christopher that I really want to read. Maybe something called The Lesser Dead, maybe. Grady Hendrix, read from before. Hit and miss for me, hit and miss. Ooh, Josh Malerman. I would love to read Incidents Around the House because that is getting so much hype right now and so many people are saying it's like really genuinely scary. So I want to read that one. Paul Tremblay, I have read The Cabin at the End of the World. Stephen Graham Jones, I started my Holidays of Change, so I soft DNF'd it. I would love to go back to it because I still own it. Tanana Reeve Dew, I just read The Reformatory and loved it. So yes, I can tick Tanana Reeve Dew off. And then Vay Castro is the final author. Maybe I would read The Haunting of Alexandra, potentially from that author, but I haven't read anything yet from that author. And there we have it. Those were the 101 horror books essentially, or like with the authors added, to give you a full-on list that hopefully has some recommendations for you too. I would still 100% recommend getting this book. There's so much more to it. So many different recommendations in it. There are so many interactive elements with the book too. And yeah, it seems like I built a whole TBR off this. There were so many books that I kind of wanted to read. So I'll put on the screen all the books that I said I would add to my TBR. If you think there are any that I haven't included because I said, oh, maybe I'm not that interested in, but you know for a fact that it's like a great book, then please do let me know down below. Let me know if there's anything that I mentioned is on my TBR that you're the most excited for me to read. Then please, again, let me know down in the comments as well. Let's have a full-on discussion about all of this. But yeah, I guess that's the end of the video. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to leave this video a like if you enjoyed and subscribe if you haven't already. Leave all your comments down below. Let me know everything you thought of the video. Let me know what you thought of the books. You know me, I want all the recommendations. I love chatting, so let's chat down below. I want to give a huge thank you to my patrons for supporting my channel. If you'd like to join my Patreon, then the link is in the description box. But yeah, I hope I will see you in the next video. Bye.